Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our 7 Oily Days Monday night Zoom. We're so glad that you are here and really excited to welcome Jackie Tarlton to as our guest teacher tonight. She is the author of Essentially Grown, which is a wonderful resource. Even if you're not necessarily a gardener, but it's definitely a wonderful resource for gardeners, and it could be a really great gift for gardeners in your life. And this, and then also a tear-off sheet is available from Growing Healthy Homes. And so I am going to let Jackie introduce herself, tell us a little bit about, and then we're going to talk about why all this is so wonderful. Go ahead, Jackie.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here tonight. I'm glad you're going to let me talk a little bit about two things that I'm kind of passionate about. I guess that's plants and essential oils. I've been interested in gardens since I was a small child, following my grandmother around because we lived just a couple of houses apart. So I loved to go over there and visit with her, and she always had a pretty garden. And later on, I got into vegetable gardening. Actually, probably about 20 years ago, I started doing some vegetable gardening. So I learned something new every day. But I'm from, as I told Joanna the other day, from LA, which is Lower Arkansas. So you'll have to pardon the Southern accent. But tonight, I'm hoping you'll learn a little bit about the essential oils and about gardening. And part of the reason that I turned to essential oils for gardening is because of all of the commercial fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides and things that you buy now. They have so many harmful chemicals in them. And these chemicals, get into our groundwater, they get into our air, they, contaminate the soil, and they have so many things that are harmful. They've got hormone disrupting agents in them. They've got things that are known carcinogens and also neurotoxins. So I do everything I can to avoid those. And so I use more natural fertilizers. I use worm castings, and I actually have gotten into composting. So I make my own compost. And so I use natural fertilizers, and then I've turned to essential oils for many of the other things that I need in the garden. And the main reason I turned to essential oils is it just kind of made sense. Essential oils come from plants. They're actually the life force of a plant. That's what helps the plant grow, helps the plant adapt to their environment. The oils within the plant actually protect the plant from pests and disease and harmful environments. I mean, it's the same thing they do in us. They help the plant. So it's only natural that we try to help those plants use something that they actually already have inside themselves to help fight disease. And we use the oils topically, aromatically, and internally. We can use those oils the same way on plants. Aromatically, even like houseplants, if you have a houseplant that's got a disease or is having some pest, you can set a diffuser up with, say, basil in it or something like that. It'll help the houseplant. You can also use it when you put it in a spray bottle and spray the leaves, then that's a topical use. You can also add essential oils. You can use lavender and water to water your plants to enhance the health of that plant. Well, that's internally because they take it up through their roots and internally. So we're using them the same way within plants as we do for ourselves. So And the main ways that we use the essential oils with the plants is for pest control, for disease prevention. We can use them in companion gardening, where basically when you're gardening, a lot of times you'll plant a plant near another one that they have a symbiotic relationship. They help each other. So you can use the oils for that. You can use them for weed control. And you can also use them if you're not seeing many bees or butterflies or other pollinators in your garden. You can use the oils for that. So we're going to talk a little bit about a little bit about all of this, I guess. But I know not everyone has a large space for gardening. Most of us have plants in our home. So I'll talk a little bit about having plants in your house. And there's a lot of benefits to that. NASA's even done studies on using plants in a home for air quality and that sort of thing, because it helps purify the air. When we bring carpeting in our home, or we paint, or we buy furniture, there's chemicals in those items, and the plants will actually take those chemicals out and purify the air. It removes carbon dioxide and other chemicals, and it releases clean air, clean oxygen into the air. And so just having the plants in your house help with all that. It purifies the air. It can actually help with humidity. I know in our home in the wintertime, we have a fireplace and it dries the air out, but these plants can help put more humidity into the home. And so that helps. And they say just having green plants around help improve your mood and the health, of you. So I was just going to talk a little bit about having houseplants, that in order for the houseplants to do their job in your home, they need to have clean leaves. And so essential oils have a place in the home too with cleaning those plants. I have a spray that I've made up. It's just distilled water, and I've added a capful of thieves household cleaner, and I also have 20 drops of citrus fresh. Now I use that to clean the leaves. I'll just spray them down, take a cloth, wipe the dust off, and I'll do that occasionally, but about once a week or so, I just go around to all my houseplants and just spray the leaves with it. It's good for it. It'll help improve their health, and it keeps them clean. And then there's another spray that you can use that is good for your houseplants, that you can mix 10 drops each of lemongrass, geranium, and frankincense. And so that's good to help the plants grow. It'll also help with some pest control. And you can also spray it on the soil around the plant to help with growth on that. And occasionally when I'm watering, to a gallon of water, I kind of alternate it. I'll either add a capful of Thieves household cleaner or about a tablespoon of the Thieves fruit and veggie wash. The Thieves fruit and veggie wash already has, I think, Digize, Thieves, and Purification in it. I think are the oils that are included, they're made with. So those are good oils to use in your houseplants. So, and there are several plants that are really good or better for air purification than others. So that's something you might want to look at too. They're the mother-in-law's tongue, or the snake plant, your pothos ivy, aloe vera, English ivy, your closet plant, or the peace lily. It's got a couple of different names, or the Drusina. So there's a lot of easy to care for plants that you can set around in your home, and it'll help your inside of your home be healthier. So the first thing we'll kind of talk about is pest control with your plants. And as I started saying earlier, you don't have to have a large area to have a garden. I see a lot of people that'll take 5-gallon buckets and fill them with soil, and they'll grow tomatoes and peppers. You can plant, flowers in any container you've got sitting around. You just need some drainage and they'll grow well. But some of the oils that I probably use more than others for pest control are going to be your peppermint, spearmint. I've got, and I didn't bring my cedar wood, but peppermint, spearmint, cedar wood, lavender, rosemary, basil. Those are probably some that I use the most. Peppermint, we use it in our homes to get rid of ants. It also will help with aphids, spider mites, gnats. There's I was trying to look, make sure, ants, aphids, beetles, different caterpillars. You can also, if you have problems with mice. And one thing I didn't mention it too, I mentioned the 3 different ways to use it. So you've got your sprays, and for some pests you may have in the garden, like your mice and that sort of thing, you can put the oils on cotton balls and scatter them around. That sometimes will help even with rabbits and that sort of thing. Another thing that I do is you can get just a stick out of the yard, cut some strips of cloth, and you can soak this cloth in a solution with water and the essential oils that you're wanting to use. And this can be used to keep pests out of the garden. It can also be used if you're trying to bring bees and butterflies in. You can put orange oil or some of the oils that the bees and all like, and you can set them around those plants. But then you can use it for rabbits and pests. And you can also take string and string it around an area and soak that string in oil. But most of the time for pest control, I use the sprays. So as I was saying, with peppermint, for my sprays for pest control, I usually take a gallon of water and add about 10 drops of the essential oil. Now, if you don't want to work with that large an amount, you can use the 16-ounce bottles. I also have a small sprayer that's about a half a gallon. And so you can add water to it, and just be sure before you use it, you shake it up real good. So that's going to give you some exercise, work those arm muscles. But to that gallon of water or the amount you're using, you'll add the peppermint if you're looking to fight ants, aphids, beetles, caterpillars. I'm going to get my list here in front of me. Plant lice. I tend to get that, and flea beetles every time I grow eggplants. So I actually keep a mixture of peppermint and spearmint that I use for those particular plants. And you have to start early. Usually it's easier to do prevention than it is to get rid of them. So I try to be a little proactive there. Peppermint will also work with spider mites. And peppermint and spearmint can pretty much be interchangeable. They're both mints. There's a little different qualities to them, but pretty much peppermint or spearmint can be used for the same things. Cedar wood, you were talking about your roses earlier, Joanna. The cedar wood is really good to use with roses, especially if you get the beetles that will sometimes show up on roses, because cedar wood will take care of the beetles pretty well. Cedar wood also helps with snails and slugs. And you can even take, say, a yogurt jar, a small container, throwaway container, and bury it in the ground. And even you can put either cotton balls in it, or you can fill it with dirt and put it kind of level with the soil. And you could put like your cedar wood in there if you're having problems with slugs or snails around, say, hostas or something like that they like, and they won't crawl across that, so it'll keep them away from it. Lavender is also good for fleas, moths, mosquitoes, and different things. Thyme is great to have for your tomatoes. if you get cutworms. If you'll spray them real well with the thyme, you won't have problems with them. And actually another pest for tomatoes is the tomato hornworm. It's the big green worm, and basil is one thing that they don't like. So it will repel the hornworms. So rosemary, right now I've got a few cabbage still growing in the garden that the snow didn't get. And I checked them yesterday. So far I don't have any problems. But a lot of times they call them cabbage loopers. They're little small green worms that'll get on your cabbage and Brussels sprouts and broccoli and things like that. So if you keep them sprayed with the rosemary, it'll keep those off. And the oils don't affect the taste of the produce. You don't notice it. If anything, as I'll talk about in companion gardening, a lot of people grow basil around their tomatoes. They say it makes them taste better, and some say that they can kind of taste the basil in tomatoes. I've never noticed that, but that's one thing that people use. But it's just so easy to use the essential oils in the garden, especially, like I said, for pest control. And just, it's better to be proactive. I usually do 10 drops to a gallon of water once or twice a week. If you actually get an infestation, you may want to add more. To me, less is better. If I don't need more, I won't add it, but sometimes you need to, because they just will take over if you don't get control of them. Another thing that I use the essential oils in the garden for is disease. And most of the diseases you're going to get in a garden is going to be from fungal diseases. And one way to prevent that is get rid of your pest, keep your weeds cleared away, because if you've got a lot of weeds around your plants, then they harbor disease. And then if pest comes in, they'll spread it. So, and so many of our essential oils, they have antifungal properties or antibacterial properties. So they work real well with the plants. And some of the ones that I use the most for that is going to be tea tree. Tea tree works good. Also your thieves, and you can use your thieves household cleaner again. I mean, I keep some handy with all my gardening. And sometimes, with pest control and with others, sometimes you need to add maybe a drop or so of soap. So I use the Thieves dish soap because I know it's organic, and that will help the essential oils stick to the leaves. Sometimes they don't stick as well, and it also helps the oils, dissipate into the water and not float on the top. But a general treatment that I use on when I think I may be getting a fungal infection on tomatoes or anything like that, I just take about a quart of water and I'll add 10 drops of tea tree, and then I'll add like a tablespoon of baking soda. And the baking soda helps it to kind of cling to the plants, and it helps neutralize that bacteria. But you can also add, like I said, a cupful of the Thieves household cleaner or 10 drops or so of Digest. That's also good to fight disease on your plants. So those are easy ways to take care of disease. And I talked about weed control. And so, if you got control of the weeds, it will eliminate a lot of your pests. It'll eliminate a lot of your disease. And vinegar, just plain household vinegar, works great. You can get an agricultural vinegar. I have found it at Home Depot. Where this is 5% acidity, it's like 30%, I think. I may be wrong on that, but it's a lot higher acidity. And so I will take a gallon of vinegar and usually will add a 5 ml bottle of cinnamon. if I've got a very big area to cover, vinegar by itself with some weeds will work pretty good, but adding that cinnamon seems to really enhance it. But don't spray it anywhere that you have plants that you don't want to be damaged, because it will. Now, if you've got a dandelion or something that's a taproot, a deep root, or anything like that, it's going to take more than one treatment. And I rarely use a weed killer. I've got one area that sometimes if we've had much rain, the grass and weeds will come in, and that's when I'll use it. But I'm pretty much a hands-on person. I get out there and pull weeds. I mean, that's my stress release. So, and that's one of the things too about gardening. You know, it's good for you. It's good for your body. It's good for your soul. You get out there, you get exercise, you you exercise your mind. You know, I sit out there and relieve my stress. It gives me some vitamin D, some vitamin C. I just, it's been shown in some of the studies, even with the CDC, you know, gardening is considered moderate level activity, which can help decrease your blood pressure and your heart rate and all of that. Well, I work in an office 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. As the days get longer, you'll find me outside in my garden pretty much every evening, because I'm going to get out there and walk around and check on things and pull some weeds. And that's my way to de-stress and just kind of, you know, reconnect. And another thing with gardening, and I've read some things on this lately, and some of y'all may have heard it too, what they call earthing. If you can get out in the garden barefoot, get your hands in the dirt, you know, that you get that connection and with the earth, and there's a lot of benefits from it. Actually, a couple of years ago, I had gone to my doctor and I told him we were getting ready to go to the beach, and he said, I want to tell you one thing to do while you're there. And he says, go barefoot on the beach. He said, go barefoot as much as you can. He said, that's the best thing you can do for your body, for inflammation, for stress, for any of that. So if somebody wants something to read about, you might look into that. So, and I'm not paying any attention to the time, so y'all can tell me if I've talked too long. I was going to talk a little bit about the companion gardening, and that is using the essential oils to help plants in the way that companion gardening, like tomatoes and basil, that relationship. The companion gardening helps the plants grow better. It helps them attract beneficial insects, repel pests, provides nutrients, improves the health. That symbiotic relationship, that companion gardening, just really helps a lot of plants. And in my book, I've got several examples of things that grow really good together and that help each other. I mean, I know a lot of people will plant lavender around their apples if they have apple trees. The broccoli, you can plant basil, thyme, roses. I have thyme and basil. I keep thyme growing around my roses, but I also will plant thyme. The basil, the oregano, I'm getting myself confused here. I'm looking at the wrong line. Thyme, I use the creeping thyme, and so it pretty much stays green year round. So with that in around my roses, it helps them. You can plant basil. Another thing, rosemary, I plant rosemary around my roses because it keeps the deer out. But you can also mix up rosemary around your roses, and it will help with that. And I do have a recipe in my book that is really good for keeping deer and rabbit and that sort of thing away, that you spray on your plants. It's, of course, got rotten egg in it, but it really helps. And for companion gardening, for example, the basil, I'll put about 6 drops of basil oil in a gallon of water, and you can just water the plant with it, or you can spray the plant, whichever way you would rather do. And I think, let's see, one other thing I was going to talk about is to get the pollinators in your garden. You need pollinators in order to have more fruit and vegetables. So just like your plants attract bees and butterflies, the essential oils can do the same. Basil, dill, rosemary, lavender. Bees are really attracted to orange essential oil, and that's where I talked about even, you know, putting your sticks around or hanging strips of cloth. If you have a fence or trees, you can hang it from those trees to bring those bees in. But for bees, the orange, lavender, lemongrass, hyssop, rosemary, dill, coriander. Butterflies like all your mints, your peppermint and spearmint. They also like lavender, heliochrysum, fennel. I grow fennel because it's a host plant for some of the butterflies too. They like the sage. You've also got ladybugs that come in and help pollinate, and they actually will eat some of your aphids and other pests that come in. So you can attract those with your dill and your coriander, fennel, Roman chamomile, and you can mix some of these together. I've got a blend that's 12 drops lavender, 5 drops orange, and 8 drops of rosemary, and you can mix that in a quart of water, and you can soak your strips of cloth in it to hang around, and that'll help draw your bees and butterflies in. So that's, I think, helpful for that. I don't know, that was the main things I had. Now I do have seeds that I've started, and I don't know how many people really work with that. I set up a little makeshift greenhouse in my dining room, and I do use essential oils in doing that. You can take like a drop of thyme essential oil in some water, and before you plant your seeds, you can soak them in that water a little bit. It'll help if there's any kind of bacteria or germs of any kind on that seeds. It'll kind of help them from rotting. Sometimes if it takes a while for a seed to germinate, if it's too cool or something like that, seeds can actually rot instead of germinate. Also, when I planted my seeds, I made a mixture, and I think it's in this spray bottle, because I've got one that's for my seeds and one that's for my houseplants. But I've got the 16 ounces of water in there, and I put 15 drops of digize, and I've put like 5 drops of cinnamon bark in it. And so I spray the surface of those pots, because sometimes you can have a little bit of mold or something that can grow on top of that soil, because you have to keep it so moist for those seeds to germinate. So I use that in my seed starting, and that has helped. Everything that I've planted so far has germinated. I've got 10 different varieties of tomatoes planted, and 6 or 8 peppers, and I'm actually got pots sitting out. I'm supposed to start planting some flowers and that sort of thing. So, man, I just use the essential oils all the way around when it comes to my garden. I mean, and then when I get through in the garden, I can make me a good soak in the bathtub with some lavender or some Panaway or Deep Relief, depending on what I need. So, you know, the oils are good for the garden, but they're good for us, and it basically works the same way. So I would think in a lot of ways you look at how you're using them for you, and you think about, you know, if that works for me, it ought to work for the plant. They're the ones that gave us these wonderful creations. So that's pretty much what I've got, unless anyone has some questions.
There's been a thank you, Jackie. My gosh, I was writing, and there have been a couple of questions in the chat, and Jeannie asked about black spots on the roses, and I'm wondering, would that be
I would use the Thieves
fungus?
household cleaner.
Okay.
It's a black spot, which is more of a bacterial
Okay.
infection on them, but I'd put probably a cap of the Thieves. Well, it depends on how many you're needing to spray, but that Thieves household cleaner would probably be the best thing to use on it. And as far as that goes, she could even go ahead and add some of the cedar wood to it that could help prevent any of the beetles that sometimes will show up too. But that, if the leaves are very infected, she may want to pick those off.
Okay.
Because the main thing, it may not be able to get rid of it completely, but it would prevent it from spreading. So that's what I would do.
That makes sense. Suzanne says that she diffused peppermint, and she thinks the peppermint killed her houseplant. Is that right? Or
I would not see that happening unless it was in a closed up room and too close to it.
Okay.
Because I use peppermint on plants, all the time, and I've not had it kill anything. So okay. I've not heard of that. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but it surprises me because I do know I spray them with peppermint. So.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on just a second. I need to let everyone know who is on the call for tonight that Growing Healthy Homes has extended us, those who are on the call. Hopefully this works. Yay. I have just posted okay. Gotta love technology. Okay, try this one more time. Here we go. I've just posted a code, and so if you're in this call, please, and you do not have, or maybe you do have this book and now you know you need to get another one. Yes, Laura's copy is facing the right way. So essentially grown. And so if you were taking notes tonight, or maybe you couldn't take notes tonight, go to Growing Healthy Homes and grab yourself a book, because there's just so much. As much information as Jackie gave us this evening, there's so much more that she included in this booklet. And then there's even, maybe if you're wanting to send out happy mail to friends or family, there is tear off pads as well. And this has got a nice chart on the back for just really easy, quick information about using essential oils to get rid of pests, and then the ones that benefit plants. Some of what Jackie
there's also a PowerPoint presentation that they have too, if you were interested in having a class, and the tear outs or handouts work real well with that too, whether you an in-person class or online, but it's available too. So.
Okay. Laura, is there anything that you saw that I've missed? I know there was a few questions. If any, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and I saw a few questions in the comments, but I think I'm gonna let you, if you have a question that the book or Jackie hasn't been able to address, if you would like to raise your hand and then I can unmute you, that might be an easier way for questions to be addressed. Otherwise, we are at just a little past the half hour, and we always want to respect that. So I'm not seeing any hands raised. So Jackie, thank you so much. I personally am pretty thrilled that I can use my thieves cleaner in so many more ways. And I just love that this is another way, honestly, that we can talk about the benefits of our essential oils, some things that maybe we can't say that they will promote our health, you know, some of the ways that we have to be careful,
Right.
but we can talk about what they'll do for plants.
What they do in the plants, and that's right.
And know that if they're doing it for the plants, they're doing it for us. So
that's right.
I just hope that you all made that connection. And for those of you who weren't able to catch the whole call this evening, we did go ahead and record it. And so Laura will do what she needs to do, and then it will be posted into our 7 Oily Days Essentials.
And
so,
I want to thank y'all for having me. I enjoyed it. And like I said, I wasn't paying attention to the time, and I can keep finding things to talk about. But I also want to encourage anyone I do have a Facebook group that's called Essentially Grown, Natural Gardening with Essential Oils. And I'd welcome anybody to drop in there. They can ask me questions or post tips they've come up with that maybe I haven't tried yet. And so I want to learn from other people too. So if anyone's interested in looking at that, it's by the name of the book. And so I don't update it real regularly, but I'm trying to be a little better with that. But I think it'll be a good tool for anyone interested in gardening and plants and oils to kind of get together and learn from each other. So I just want to drop that little advertisement too. So
thank you. That is definitely good to know. And one question is bugs for squash bugs.
Squash bugs. I do have, let me make sure what it is. I don't want to say it off the top of my head because I may be wrong. It is peppermint.
Okay.
Peppermint's one of those that works for most things. And what I do with the squash bugs, and you'll need to watch, because when they first come up, they're little orange bugs. You wouldn't even notice what they are until they grow and get bigger. But if you can watch for those at the base of your squash early and spray those with the peppermint, then they won't mature and grow into the large bugs that do so much damage. But just, you need to watch around the base of them for the little orange bugs. So
okay, sounds great. So hopefully y'all grabbed the code, because I believe that is just maybe for those who attend it. No, is it?
I think Growing Healthy Homes will extend it, but I'll put it in the page tomorrow whenever I get to upload the class, because I know some people couldn't join tonight. Okay. But it is going to end on March 18th.
Okay, yes, until March 18th, 20% off for put that in at checkout for 20% off Essentially Grown products. So,
and bring it with you when you come to things, because you can have Jackie sign it.
You can get my autograph.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll put my green thumbprint on there, which isn't always green. It's like we've always said in Master Gardening, that people talk about losing plants or their plants die, and I'm like, that's fine with me. It just gives me a chance to buy another plant. So, it's okay. You just live and learn.
There you go. There you go. So, all right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who joined tonight. And we're so glad that we can meet across the time zones and, just from all different places. And we look forward to seeing you again next Monday. And we'll be talking, oh my goodness. My brain, I'm thinking plants tonight. Laura, we'll be talking about
AFT.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll be talking about AFT. So
just aroma freedom technique.
Thank you. I was blanking on the A part. So aroma freedom technique. So join us next Monday. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.